okay to leave some backed up.
Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? So, spending a little bit of time today watching some poker training videos. Tried to do my best to find some time, carve out some time in my schedule to study up and keep up on my poker studying and training in the midst of working full-time, running my poker business, and uploading and rendering all sorts of videos, and now doing this vlog. So, I think this is actually a pretty good topic that I want to discuss for today. Is the topic of spending time off the table studying, and really carving out time in your schedule to study up on your game. I'm not getting into that mode where all you're doing is playing, and not really maintaining your game and reevaluating your game and improving your game. So I think that's something a lot of people probably struggle with. So let's talk about that today. In today's vlog, I want to talk about studying in poker because I think it's going to be beneficial for a lot of people, especially beginning poker players and struggling poker players, which is really what my YouTube channel is geared towards. So let's talk about it. And I want to talk about just some basic concepts in studying poker. I already posted a video to my YouTube channel, which I'll link to right up here, which talks about a framework for learning in poker. So if you want a general framework, definitely watch this video that I'll link up in here. Now, in terms of studying poker, I just want to talk about some general bullet points. I came up with a whole list of different things that I think are important that we should probably talk about and I think will be beneficial for you. So let's get into it. So the first concept that I really want to focus on is balance ratio of study to play, which is the first bullet point. So what do I mean when I say a balanced ratio of studying to play? I think that when we're learning to play the game, we need to balance how often we play with how often we're studying, whether that be watching videos, reading books, asking questions on forums, and so forth. If you're a beginning poker player, you're probably going to have something like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio where you're studying a lot more and playing a lot less. But as you progress in your game, you probably end up going with the ratio where it's more like a ratio of 2-to-1, where you're playing twice as much and studying a lot less. But the goal is to find this balanced ratio, and I really think it's important to have a balanced ratio, and depending upon where you are, determine how much studying you need to really do to stay up on your game and to continually improve your game. As you progress, you need to determine how much additional studying you need to do just to maintain your game, or also just to continue to improve over time as well. The other thing that I think is important that I think a lot of people probably, this kind of gets a lot of people thrown off when they look to get into the game, is that they look for training resources, they look for poker training sites, they look for poker training coaches, they look for books to read, they look at all these different sources, and it can be overwhelming because there's just so many resources out there, there's so many sources to learn the game that it can just become quickly overwhelming. So I always recommend that when people are getting into the game, that you find one or two sources, find one or two really good coaches or one or two really good authors, and stick with what they're teaching you, because every single poker coach and author is probably going to have their unique twist on the game. And if you start trying to take information from too many sources, especially when you're trying to learn, it can become overwhelming. I've had a lot of people that come to my poker school and they tell me that there's just so many different things out there and it's so disconjointed that it gets confusing, and when they come to me, I kind of bring it all together and make it comprehensive so they stick with me. And I found myself, again, in that video for building a framework for learning poker, I found one or two coaches that I really like their work, and I've stuck with them. So I stick with them for the videos. And in terms of books, I stick with, what I think are modern theory and really good, sound, no limit hold'em books. But I really think that you should stick with one or two sources to learn the game. For example, if you go to Run It Once, or if you go to Grinder School, or if you go to ID Leave, or you go to Deuces Cracked, go to all those sites, count up how many different poker coaches are on there. and then try to determine, really go to all those sites and then determine which two are the best for you. It's going to take you a long time. What I'd recommend doing, if you're really not sure where to start, ask somebody. Ask a coach, go to a poker forum, ask people, who do you recommend? Who do you recommend, what video series should I watch, rather than trying to figure it out yourself. The next thing, which I think is vitally important, is that whoever you're choosing to follow in terms of your sources for your poker coach or author, you need to make sure when they're teaching you, it's a combination of two different things. It's a combination that they're teaching you a theoretical approach to the game, and also an applicable approach to the game. So there's two sides to poker. There's the theoretical approach to the game, and you'll see a lot of the new theories based around GTO style play. And then there's really realistic applicable styles to the game. So certain theoretical models aren't going to work at all the different stakes. As you move up in stakes, for example, balance becomes a major thing you need to focus on. But at the lower stakes, there's different tactics that you need to focus on, and you should be less balanced and you be more exploitive because it's more applicable. So whatever you're learning, it needs to be a combination of both. It needs to be theoretical and it needs to be applicable at the stakes that you're playing. Another thing too is that you wouldn't go and watch high stakes training videos when you're learning to play the micro stakes or low stakes live cash games. You want to find training videos that are applicable to the stakes that you're playing. And so I'll say this right here. I'll say, so applicable to the stakes that you play, and also applicable to the type of games you play. You wouldn't find a sit and go coach if you're going to play full ring cash games, right? You wouldn't choose an MTT coach if you wanted to play cash games, and vice versa. You wouldn't take a cash coach to prepare you for the WSOP. So it needs to be theoretical and it needs to be applicable to the stakes that you play and the type of games that you play. One of the most important things that I think I tell my students, and I think is vitally important, is you need to always ask why. Regardless of where you are in the game, regardless of what type of video you're watching, whether it's a theoretical lecture type of video, or it's a live play video, or it's a hand history review, as your coach is teaching you, whether it be a book, for example, let me pull a book out over here, whether it be a book, for example, like this, Dan Harrington's book, one of his classic books on theory poker, or maybe it be Dynamic Full Ring Poker by James Split Suit Sweeney. As you're reading these books, question what the author is saying and ask why. Why are they saying that I should do this or that? Why? Why are they doing that from a theoretical and an applicable approach to the game? Don't always take it for face value, because you're going to notice that different coaches have different twists on a game. If we pull, for example, if I take Harrington's book on MTDs and I have this newest book by Alexander Fitzgerald on the Myth of Poker Count, which is a newer book on MTTs, I guarantee they're going to have differences in various areas on playing tournament poker. So you want to ask why. Well, why is he recommending one thing and why is he recommending another thing? Because that's going to allow you to understand why they're teaching you and why they're recommending one thing over another. You never want to just take a coach's words for face value, and he says, well, you should always check in this situation, you should always raise in this situation, you should always do this, you should always do that. You want to know why you should do that so you can deviate from the norms. And this is one thing that really I wish that I had asked with my first coach when I got back into the game and I paid $45 an hour for coaching. He would do sweat sessions for live play, and he'd say, well, okay, do this in that situation. And I didn't always ask why, and I wish that I did, because I would have got a lot more out of the coaching, a lot more out of the $45 per an hour coaching. Now, in terms of learning the game, lots of options, right? So, went over ask why. Now let's talk about our options. What are our options? Well, I just showed you a couple different books. In a previous vlog, I showed you a lot of different books that I have, right? So, number one, we have books. Books are a great option. I do caution you, if you are going to get books, go to the forums and go to your friends, go to your fellow poker players, ask them what's relevant in today's games. Because if I pick up a book, for example, if I pick up this book, which is a limit hold'em book, not knowing it's a limit hold'em book, and buy it now and try to sit down and play no limit, it's not going to be relevant, right? I'd rather have a book like this that's designed for No Limit, for the modern No Limit games. So it needs to be relevant. So when it comes to books, definitely ask people what's relevant and what's applicable, and what really is on the cusp of new modern, I guess, modern theory and modern poker, because the game really has evolved over the time, right? You wouldn't recommend that somebody sits down and reads Super System now for No Limit Hold'em when there's so many other great resources available. So there's books, and there's a ton of video training sites. So let me see off the top of my head. We have Deuces Cracked, we have Card Runners, we have there's a Crush Live Poker site for live poker players. There's Grinder School. There's Ivy League. There's Run It Once. There's My Courses. There's a Sit and Go training site. There's a tournament training site as well. And the list just goes on and on and on. There are lots of resources for video training sites, and of course there's YouTube, and there's also Twitch. A lot of poker coaches are now streaming on Twitch where you can subscribe. So again, you have lots of resources. You have videos and books. You also have forums. You have coaches. You have lots of different options in terms of learning the game. So videos, books, forums, coaches, YouTube, Twitch, you name it. In terms of which route you should go, it's up to you. So sometimes I'm in the mood to read books. Other times I'm in the mood to watch videos. The great thing about videos is, like, for example, on my TV back over here, which you can't see, when I was starting this vlog, you'll notice that I was watching live play. So I love being able to watch live play. And so that's why I think Twitch is getting so popular. In terms of who you're going to choose, remember, look for one or two sources and whoever, the people that you trust, whoever they recommend. Now, in terms of different things, in terms of learning the game, you need to find a good mixture, and let's use green since I haven't really used it, a good mixture of theory lecture videos. So especially if you're beginning the game, you want a coach that's going to really focus on teaching you the dynamics of the game and the strategies and tactics of the game from a theoretical perspective, in addition to live hand playing videos, hand history review videos, and things like that, and League Finder videos. So you want to find a combination of both of those things. Theory lecture videos that really teaches you why you should be doing things, and then watching your coach apply them through live play or sweat videos with other students or hand history reviews. So it's a combination of all that. Now, I also put on here League Finder analysis. This really goes hand in hand with live play and theory. It kind of brings them together and ties them together when they do League Finder analyses with database reviews and hand history reviews. It pulls in the live play and the theory and really intertwines them together. Now, I guess the final and most important thing too is building a routine. So that's the last point that I have down here. So we talked about these, and the last one I want to talk about is building a routine. Building a routine is vitally important because over time, it's easy to get into the mode of just grinding and just playing the game. Whether we play live, just go to the card room and play for 4, 5, 6 hours. Not finding time to work on our game. Or if we play online, just sitting down on our computer and just grinding away for hours and playing thousands and thousands a hand per week without having a balanced ratio. So as we start off the game, we're typically going to have a balanced ratio where it's more leaning towards studying and less towards play. But as we improve, it's going to be the exact opposite. We're going to play more and more and more. And we're typically going to probably neglect studying. So you need to build a routine. Build a routine for a weekly routine or a session routine where maybe at the end of each session you do some hand history reviews and so forth. Or if you're playing live, if you get into a difficult hand, you walk away from the table, take notes on your phone or on a notepad or in the voice audio recorder on your phone, record the details of the hand so you can go home and really do a deep dive analysis on it. And also just finding time, making time to study, especially for like somebody like me that's been playing for a while. It's always good to go back and refresh what you're learning, watch other poker coaches, get their perspective, read up on books, and just restudy material, because we don't just want to get into that routine where our game becomes stagnant because all we're doing is playing. But yeah, so that's it. That's studying poker in a nutshell. And kind of just some ideas that I had off the top of my head that I think would be applicable for beginning and struggling poker players. And people that don't have a balanced ratio where they're not finding time to study their game and continually improving your game. People that are just really focusing on grinding and not studying. So I hope it was beneficial for those of you that have some really good resources you'd like to recommend to people watching this video. So, you know, different sources of coaches, sites, books, definitely put them down below in the comment section. You say like, you know, I recommend this coach, I recommend this book, I recommend watching this video series on this site. Definitely tell everybody. Also good poker forums as well. So there's lots of different poker forums. Which ones do you recommend for different stakes, different types of games, and why? Because I think we can use the comment section below as a bit of a resource guide for everybody that's looking for different sources for different areas and different methods to study. And also, you know, anybody that's looking for coaching, any coaches you recommend for your various games, where it's live play, or it's MTTs, or it's sit and goes, or it's online, or it's PLO, or whatever it is. Coaches as well. So yeah, anyways, so if you like this video, please click the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please tell your friends and fellow poker players. And also, if you haven't been over to microgrinder.com, please check us out for all of our free and low cost training resources for you, my fellow poker players. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. I hope it was beneficial. I hope you learned something from it. And if you want to add some stuff to what I was saying back here, definitely put it down in the comment section below as well, because I want to make this value added for everybody watching. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video. So take care. See ya.